A storm is coming and DC isn't ready. First crisis, the WR1 carrying the offense since 2020 might fall this Sunday. Would you bet the season on third-string rotations? It's worse. The secondary is falling apart with two safeties on IR. And Kirk Cousins is rubbing his hands. But hold on. A quiet rookie just lit up the best light. I'll reveal how a first-round tackle is destroying pass rush legends. I saw the tape and this will change everything. Did you know Dan Quinn has a more lethal blueprint than in Dallas? This is war without subscribing. You'll miss how the Commanders plan to survive October against the Chargers, Cowboys, and Chiefs. Will you risk your place in the revolution or watch the legacy fall? Last chance, like and discover what Adam Peters is hiding. After years of seeing this team trot out receivers who couldn't catch a cold in December, we finally had our guy, our undisputed number one. The man who's given us hope during the franchise's darkest seasons. Terry McLaurin, the receiver who saved us from total disaster in the Heinicke and Wentz seasons, is now in doubt for Sunday against the Falcons. Let me tell you this. Adam Schefter reported Terry got injured in the fourth quarter against the Raiders and didn't return. Do you realize the timing of this injury? Just when Jaden Daniels is finding his groove as the starting quarterback. Just when we finally have an offense that can compete in the NFC East. We might lose our most reliable weapon, and you know what worries me the most? McLaurin hasn't missed a game since 2020. Since 2020. This man has played with Washington more quarterbacks than a practice squad, injured Alex Smith, improvising Taylor Heinicke, Carson Wentz being Carson Wentz, Sam Howell learning on the go, and now that he has a real quarterback in Jaden Daniels, he's the one who's injured. I believe this is typical of the Commanders. When things start to look good, when the city starts to believe again, when we finally have a front office that knows what it's doing with Adam Peters, boom, our most important defensive player after the quarterback gets injured. Look at Terry's numbers this season, 149 yards and 0 touchdowns in 3 games. For a receiver who last year gave us 1,096 yards and 13 touchdowns. These numbers are concerning. But do you think it's a coincidence? I say it is not. Terry was starting to heat up, was developing chemistry with Jaden. And just when we were about to see that connection explode, he gets injured. Now I ask you, what is Dan Quinn going to do if Terry can't play Sunday? Because if Jaden Daniels is still out with that knee injury, Marcus Mariota will have to throw to Olamide Zaccheaus, Luke McCaffrey, and Diami Brown as his main options. Are those the weapons we're going to use against an improving Atlanta defense? I believe this is the moment of truth for Cliff Kingsbury. So far, he's had the luxury of Terry as his safety net, but if Terry isn't available, he'll have to prove why the Commanders brought him from Arizona. Can he create a game plan that works without his number one receiver? Can he make Zaccheaus and the other receivers look like legitimate options? And you know why this bothers me so much? Because Terry signed that 3-year, $96 million extension after a tense summer negotiation. The man stayed in Washington when he could have gone to any other team that offered more winning opportunities. He stayed because he believes in this organization, believes in what Adam Peters is building. And now when we finally have the pieces to compete, he's the one who's injured. Now I ask you this, don't you find it suspicious that just when the Eagles are struggling, when the Cowboys have offensive problems, when the Giants continue to be the Giants, we start having injury problems? It's like the universe doesn't want the Commanders to be successful. If that surprises you, wait to hear this. Because what's happening with our defensive secondary is even more concerning than Terry's situation. When we think about all the expectations we had for this defense after Dan Quinn arrived from Dallas, after seeing what he did with the Cowboys last year, we believed we'd finally have a secondary that could compete against the best receivers in the NFC East, but it turns out that Will Harris, one of our most reliable safeties, has just been placed on injured reserve with a fibula fracture. Let me tell you this. A fibula fracture is no minor injury. Officially, he has to miss at least 4 games. But this kind of injury usually means we won't see him again this season. We won't see him again this season. Do you realize what this means for a defense that was already struggling? I believe this is devastating because Harris had emerged as a solid presence in our secondary. He wasn't the most spectacular safety, but he was reliable, physical in the run game, and provided leadership in a unit that needs veterans. Now we lose that stability just when we needed it the most. And you know what's most frustrating about all this? Percy Butler also injured his hip on Sunday against the Raiders. Also injured. Now we have the safeties injured. And our depth at that position is thinner than Jerry Jones' excuses when the Cowboys lose. Now I ask you, when was the last time you saw our safeties generate an interception? That changed the momentum of a game. When was the last time you saw someone back there make a clean tackle without giving the receiver 5 extra yards after the catch? Because I see a lot of missed opportunities and very few impactful plays. The Commanders signed Darnell Savage on Monday, but that's like putting a band-aid on a wound that needs stitches. Savage brings experience from Green Bay, but he'll need time to adapt to Dan Quinn's system. And time is something we don't have when we're about to face the Chargers, Cowboys, and Chiefs in October. Let me tell you this, Dan Quinn knows this problem better than anyone. Last year in Dallas, he had to deal with secondary injuries and knew how to scheme around these weaknesses. But he had Trevon Diggs, had DeMarcus Lawrence generating pressure, had pieces that could make up for others' weaknesses. Here in Washington, what do we have? We have Jonathan Allen, who remains solid. But do we have the necessary depth to compete when teams like the Cowboys are going to attack exactly where we're the weakest? Now I ask you this, doesn't it seem strange that, just when our offense was starting to find its identity, our defense begins to fall apart due to injuries? It's like we can't have both units healthy at the same time. And do you think Kirk Cousins isn't watching tape of our games? Do you think he hasn't noticed that our safeties have allowed explosive plays in the middle of the field? Because I guarantee you that Atlanta is going to try to attack exactly where we're most vulnerable on Sunday. But here comes the really crazy part. And this is what gives me hope that this organization is finally doing things right. After years of watching this franchise waste first-round picks on players who never lived up to expectations, after seeing teams like Dallas and Philadelphia develop their young talent, while we struggled with picks that couldn't adapt to the NFL level, we finally have a rookie showing exactly why Adam Peters picked him in the first round. Josh Conerly Jr., our rookie offensive tackle, is starting to dominate his position in a way I hadn't seen from a Commanders rookie in years. Dan Quinn, who isn't a coach who hands out compliments easily, said the game against the Raiders was Conerly's best in his first 3 weeks. Let me tell you this. When Dan Quinn says a rookie offensive tackle had his best game, I believe him. This is a coach who trained in Dallas, where he saw Tyron Smith every day, where he worked with an offensive line that protected Dak Prescott during successful years. Quinn knows what an elite tackle is, and when he says Conerly is getting better, it means something. And you know what impresses me the most about what Quinn said? That Conerly can do it all, can pull and run plays, can move in complex protections, can handle speed rushers who have troubled veteran tackles. In his first 3 games, he's faced pass rushers who have dominated offensive lines for years, and he's learning and improving every week. I believe this is exactly what we needed to see from our first-round picks. We don't expect immediate perfection, especially from a rookie tackle, but we do expect the player to show the potential that justified selecting him so high in the draft. Conerly is doing exactly that. Now I ask you, isn't it ironic that just when our offense might be in trouble due to Terry and Jaden's injuries, we find hope on the offensive line? Because if Conerly keeps developing like this, it doesn't matter who's throwing the ball. They'll have the time needed to make plays, and you know why this excites me so much. Because while Jerry Jones in Dallas keeps fighting to find reliable tackles, while the Giants are still trying to solve their offensive line problems, we have a first-round rookie who is building that protective wall that Jaden Daniels will need for the next 10 years. Let me tell you this. The difference between this administration and previous ones is that Adam Peters knows how to identify talent that will develop. Chase Young had all the physical tools but never had the mentality, nor the development coaching he needed. Conerly has the tools and is responding to coaching in the right way. Now I ask you this, doesn't it give you hope knowing that while other aspects of the team might be struggling with injuries, we have a rookie who is laying the foundation for the future? Because I believe when Terry returns, when Jaden is fully healthy, they will have an offensive line that will protect them better than any line we've had in years. And do you think it's a coincidence that Dan Quinn, who has worked with some of the best tackles in the league, is so optimistic about Conerly? I tell you, it's nitrogen monoxide coincidence. Quinn recognizes elite talent when he sees it, and he's seeing something special in this rookie. Look, Commanders fans, these 3 news stories show us exactly where we stand as an organization at this critical point in the season. We have immediate challenges that could define our aspiration for this year, but we also have signs of hope that tell me this administration is finally building something solid for the long term. Do you think Terry McLaurin will be ready to play Sunday against Atlanta? Or will they have to play it safe with his injury? Do you think Dan Quinn can find a way for our defense to function without Will Harris? Or is this injury going to expose weaknesses that other teams will exploit? And what do you think of Josh Conerly Jr.'s development? Do you think he can be our franchise left tackle for the next decade? Leave your answers in the comments because this community we've built here is more than a YouTube channel about the Commanders. We are a Burgundy and Gold family that has suffered together through tough seasons, that has celebrated the few bright moments together, and that now is starting to dream together again about what this organization can become under the leadership of Adam Peters and Dan Quinn. If these news excited you as much as they did me, if you feel that mix of concern and hope that defines being a Commanders fan, give me that like and subscribe because tomorrow, we're going to have more explosive updates about our team. And remember, this Burgundy and Gold family stays together no matter what.